Snow White. In the version most people know, the villain is the stepmother. The cold, beautiful queen who hates the young girl, not because she has done anything wrong, but simply because she exists and is more beautiful. This is already a disturbing premise. A woman destroyed not by her actions, but by her youth, her face, her mere presence in the world. But in the earliest version of this story, the one the Brothers Grimm published in 1812 before they revised it, the villain is not the stepmother. She is the mother, Snow White's own mother, the woman who wished for her, who held her, who named her for the snow and the blood and the ebony of a winter window frame. That woman looks into the magic mirror one day and is told that her daughter has surpassed her. And she decides, without great deliberation, that the daughter must be killed. The Brothers Grimm changed her to a stepmother in later editions. Scholars have suggested this was at the urging of the publisher, who felt the image of a mother ordering the murder of her own child was too disturbing for a collection intended for families. Which is a remarkable thing to say about a collection that also contains the juniper tree. But the stepmother version is what survived. The mother version is what is true.
The queen, whichever relation she is to the girl, stands before her mirror every morning and asks the same question. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? And every morning the mirror tells her what she wants to hear, until Snow White turns 7 years old, and the mirror pauses and says, "You are fair, my queen, it is true, but Snow White is 1,000 times fairer than you." The queen goes white, then red, then a color that has no name. She calls for a huntsman. She tells him to take the girl into the forest, deep into the forest, where the old trees grow so thick the sunlight cannot reach the ground, and to kill her there. As proof, she wants the girl's lungs and liver. She will cook them herself and eat them that night. The huntsman takes Snow White into the forest. He raises his knife, and he cannot do it. She is a child. She is weeping. She does not understand why she is here. He tells her to run deep into the forest and never come back, because if the queen finds her, she will be killed. He tells her this to a 7-year-old child, alone in a forest. And then he walks away. He kills a young boar instead and brings its lungs and liver back to the palace. The queen cooks them. She sits down alone at her table and eats them by candlelight, believing she is consuming her stepdaughter, finding them delicious. This detail does not appear in the Disney film. Snow White runs until she cannot run anymore. The forest is dark and full of sounds she cannot name. Owls and wind and the creak of branches that sounds like footsteps. She stumbles on a small house in a clearing. She goes inside. Everything is small. 7 small plates, 7 small cups, 7 small beds in a row. She is so exhausted, she lies across 3 of the beds and falls asleep. The 7 dwarfs come home from their work in the mines and find her there. They stand in a circle around the sleeping girl, holding their small lanterns, and look at her face. They agree unanimously that she is too beautiful to wake. They let her sleep. In the morning, they make a bargain with her. She may stay if she keeps the house, cooks their meals, washes their clothes, makes their beds. She agrees. She has nowhere else to go. the queen stands before her mirror that evening. She asks her question. The mirror. She comes 3 times in disguise. The first time as an old peddler woman selling laces for corsets. She offers to lace Snow White's bodice for her, pulls it so tight Snow White cannot breathe, cannot call out, collapses to the floor. The dwarves come home and find her and cut the laces, and she revives. They warn her, let no one in. The second time, the queen comes as a different old woman with a poisoned comb. Snow White lets her in. The comb goes into her hair and she falls again. The dwarves come home and find her and pull the comb from her hair, and she revives. They warn her more urgently this time. Let absolutely no one in. Do not open the door for anyone. Anyone. The third time the queen comes with an apple. Half white, half red. Poison on the red side only. She cuts it in front of Snow White and eats the white half herself. See, she says pleasantly, perfectly safe. Snow White takes the red half and bites it and falls to the floor as if dead. This time, the dwarfs cannot revive her. They loosen her laces. They pull the comb from her hair. They look for what has killed her and find nothing, because the piece of apple is lodged in her throat and they do not think to look there. She is not breathing. She is cold. She appears to be dead. They cannot bring themselves to bury her underground. She is too beautiful, they say, and too fresh. She does not look dead. They build her a glass coffin and write her name on it in golden letters with the words, "Here lies a king's daughter." They carry the coffin to the top of a hill and they take turns sitting beside it, one dwarf always on watch. Animals come to mourn her. First an owl, then a raven, then a dove, the story says, each one sitting by the coffin in its turn. She lies there for a long time. She does not decay. She looks as if she is simply sleeping. One day, a prince rides through the forest. He sees the coffin on the hill, and he sees the girl inside it, and he wants her. He asks the dwarfs if he can take the coffin to his palace, and they say no, we cannot part with her. He offers them money. They say no. He says, then give her to me as a gift, for I cannot live without the sight of her. I will honor her and cherish her above all things. The dwarfs look at him. They look at each other. They agree. They give him the coffin containing the body of a girl he has never spoken to, who appears to be dead, because he says he cannot live without the sight of her. This is presented as romance. His servants lift the coffin to carry it down the mountain. One of them stumbles on a root in the path. The coffin jolts. The piece of poisoned apple dislodges from Snow White's throat. She opens her eyes. She lifts the lid of the coffin. She sits up. She says, "Where am I?" The prince tells her she is safe. He tells her what has happened. He tells her that he loves her and asks her to come to his palace and be his wife. She looks at him. He is a stranger, but she has just woken in a glass box on a hilltop with 7 small men watching her, and a prince she has never met asking her to marry him. She agrees. This is also presented as romance. The wedding is arranged and the invitations sent to all the royalty of the surrounding kingdoms. The queen, Snow White's mother, receives her invitation. She stands before her mirror that morning with the invitation in her hand. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? And the mirror says, "You are fair, my queen, It is true. But the young bride at the wedding today is 1,000 times more beautiful than you. The queen goes pale. She cannot stay away. She has to see who has surpassed her. She dresses carefully and goes to the wedding. When she walks into the hall and sees Snow White standing there alive, her daughter she believed dead, the blood drains from her face completely. She cannot move. She stands frozen in the doorway. And in that moment, iron shoes are brought from the fire. Shoes that have been heating in the coals since the wedding began, glowing red, almost liquid with heat. They are placed in front of the queen with iron tongs, and she is made to put them on and to dance. She dances in the burning shoes. She dances and she screams and she cannot stop because the shoes are red-hot iron and they are on her feet, and the only way forward is through. She dances until she falls down dead on the floor of the wedding hall. The guests watch. The prince watches. Snow White watches her mother die in iron shoes at her wedding. And then the music starts again, and they dance.
Cinderella. You think you know this story. You have seen the film. You have seen the cartoon. You know the glass slipper and the pumpkin carriage and the fairy godmother and the clock striking midnight and the prince finding the girl and everything ending in music and light and happiness. You know this story the way a painting knows the wall it hangs on. Completely? And not at all. Because the story behind the story is different. Older, stranger, and considerably darker in the places where the light does not reach. In the original Brothers Grimm version, published in their first collection in 1812, there is no fairy godmother. There is no pumpkin. There is no magic wand, no cheerful wave, no kindly woman in a sparkling dress who appears from nowhere and fixes everything and disappears again before midnight. None of that exists. What exists instead is a grave. A small mound of earth at the edge of the garden where Cinderella's mother was buried. And on that grave, planted by Cinderella herself, watered with her tears through seasons of grief, a small hazel tree. The mother had asked for the tree before she died. She had called her daughter to her bedside and spoken quietly, the way people speak when they know they are running out of time. And she had said, "Be good, be pious, and I will look down on you from heaven and always be near you." Then she closed her eyes and did not open them again. Cinderella went to the grave every day, every morning and every evening. She sat beside the tree and wept. And through the winter, the tree grew. And in spring, a white bird came to live in its branches. And the white bird, it turned out, could give her anything she wished for. Drop a wish up into the branches, and the bird would drop it back down. A dress, a pair of shoes, whatever she needed. The mother did not leave. She simply changed her form. This is not a comforting detail if you think about it too long. It means the mother watched everything. Every day of misery and cruelty and cold floors and ash and hunger. She watched from her tree and sent dresses when her daughter needed to go to a ball. Which raises questions the story does not answer. Perhaps does not want to. The stepmother arrived after the father remarried. Quickly, as fathers in fairy tales always do, as if grief is something to be solved rather than survived. She brought 2 daughters with her. Beautiful daughters, the story notes, with fair and lovely faces.
but hearts that were black and rotten as old wood beneath the pretty surface. They took Cinderella's room and gave her a straw bed in the kitchen by the hearth. They gave her gray work clothes and wooden shoes. They made her rise before dawn and work until after dark, and then they laughed at her and called her Cinderella, Ash Girl, Cinder Girl, because she was always dirty from the fireplace, always covered in the gray dust of a life spent keeping everyone else warm.
The father appears occasionally in this story. He is present. He sees what is happening. He does nothing. This is perhaps the most realistic horror in the tale. Not the cruelty of the stepmother, which is at least honest in its viciousness, but the father who sees and does not act, who is not evil exactly, who simply chooses every single day not to look directly at the thing he knows is happening in his own house. Parents like this appear in fairy tales because they exist in life. They always have. When the king announced a festival, 3 days of celebration and feasting at the palace so that the prince might choose a bride, the stepmother and her daughters began to prepare immediately. New dresses, new shoes, their hair braided and styled and decorated. They called Cinderella to help them dress and lace their corsets and arrange their hair. And she did all of it. Her hands working on the clothes and hair of women, going to a place she had not been invited. When they had gone, she went to the hazel tree on her mother's grave and stood beneath it. "Little tree," she said, "shake yourself, shake yourself. Throw gold and silver down to me." And the white bird dropped a dress of gold and silver and a pair of slippers embroidered with silk and silver. She put them on and went to the festival. No one recognized her. The prince danced with her all evening and would dance with no one else. When she slipped away at the end of the night, he tried to follow her. She was too quick. She disappeared into the hazel tree and was gone. The next evening, the same. A dress even more magnificent, more gold. And again the prince danced only with her. And again, she escaped. The third evening, the prince had the palace staircase coated in pitch, sticky black tar to catch her. She ran, and one slipper stayed behind in the pitch. Just one, the left one. And the prince took it and announced that he would marry the girl whose foot it fit. He came first to Cinderella's house, as she knew he would, because the slipper had come from there. The stepmother took the eldest daughter into her room. "The slipper is too small. Your toes are too long." And so she handed her daughter a knife and said, quite calmly, the way you might discuss the weather, "Cut your toe off. When you are queen, you will never need to walk anywhere." The daughter cut her toe off. She forced the slipper on. She presented herself to the prince, who placed her on his horse and began to ride. But the white birds in the hazel tree called out as he passed the grave, look down at the shoe she wears. See the blood, see the blood. This is not the right bride." The prince looked down. He saw the blood seeping through the gold. He turned back. He tried the slipper on the second daughter. Her heel was too wide. The mother handed her the knife. The daughter cut off a piece of her heel. She forced the slipper on. Again, the prince lifted her onto his horse. Again, the birds called out, look down,
at the shoe she wears. See the blood, see the blood. This is not the right bride.
He turned back again, and this time he asked whether there was another daughter in the house. The father said, "Well, there is only the little ash girl, the kitchen girl. She cannot possibly be the one." The prince said he wanted to see her. Cinderella washed her face and came forward. The slipper slid onto her foot as if it had been made for her, which of course it had. It was hers. It had always been hers. The prince looked at her face and recognized the girl he had danced with. He lifted her onto his horse. As they rode past the hazel tree, the white birds flew down and settled on Cinderella's shoulders, one on each side. They rode to the church, and as the wedding procession made its way along the path, the two sisters walked alongside to share in the honor, or so they thought. And the white birds flew down to them and pecked out their eyes. The right eye of the elder at the entrance to the church, the left eye at the exit. For their wickedness and falseness, the birds left them blind. They spent the rest of their lives without sight, led from place to place by strangers, unable to see the world they had been so proud of their beauty in. Cinderella lived in the palace with her prince, and every morning she visited the grave in the garden where the hazel tree grew. And the white bird sat in the branches and watched. And the mother, in whatever form she had become, was near, as she had promised. Hansel and Gretel. This story begins not in a forest, but in a house. A small house at the edge of a forest where a woodcutter lives with his 2 children and his wife. The children are called Hansel and Gretel. Their mother is dead. The woman in the house is their stepmother. The Brothers Grimm changed her from the biological mother she was in the earliest versions of this tale, for the same reason they changed Snow White's mother to a stepmother. Because a mother who decides to have her own children left in a forest to die was too much. Even for the Brothers Grimm. Even in 1812. There is a famine. The kind of famine that medieval Europe knew well. Not metaphorical, not theoretical, but real and grinding and relentless. There is not enough food. There has not been enough food for a long time. The stepmother lies awake at night, calculating and recalculating, and arriving at the same conclusion every time. There are 4 mouths. There is not enough for 4. There is barely enough for 2. She wakes her husband in the dark and tells him what she has decided. They will take the children into the forest tomorrow. Deep into the forest where the old trees are so thick and so tall that the children will not be able to find their way back. They will leave them there. They will come home without them. And then there will be enough food for 2 people, which is all she can provide for, which is all she can manage. The father weeps. He says he cannot do it. He says they are his children. She says, then we will all 4 starve together, including the children. And what is the difference? He has no answer for this. He stops weeping. He goes to sleep. He agrees by his silence to do what she has asked. Hansel has heard all of this through the thin wall of the small house. He waits until his parents are asleep, and then he
slips outside in the moonlight. The moon is full and bright, and the white quartz pebbles beside the path catch the light like coins. He fills his pockets with them. He goes back inside and lies down and does not sleep.
They walk for a very long time. When they have gone deep enough, the parents stop and tell the children to sit and rest while they gather firewood. They build a small fire. They tell the children to wait by the fire and sleep if they are tired, and that they will come back for them when the work is done. Then they walk away into the trees. The children wait. The fire burns down to embers. Gretel weeps. Hansel puts his arm around her and tells her not to be afraid. He tells her about the pebbles. When the moon rises, they will follow the path home. Gretel stops weeping. They sit together beside the dying fire in the dark forest and wait for the moon. When it rises, they can see the pebbles gleaming on the path like a trail of small lights. They walk through the night and arrive at the house at dawn. The stepmother opens the door, and her face goes through several expressions in quick succession before settling on relief and anger. "Where have you been?" she says. "We thought you were gone forever." The father says nothing. He holds his children and says nothing. He has been miserable all night, the story tells us, which is what the story can offer him by way of a soul. A few weeks later, the food runs out again. The stepmother lies awake again and calculates again and arrives at the same conclusion. This time, she tells the father he is a fool if he thinks he can solve it any other way. This time, the father does not weep. He simply agrees. Hansel hears this too. He waits until the house is quiet and tries to go outside for pebbles. The door is locked. The stepmother thought of this. In the morning, she gives them each a smaller piece of bread than before. Hansel puts his in his pocket. As they walk into the forest, he crumbles it and drops the crumbs behind him on the path. He is careful. He spaces them well. He looks back often to make sure they are visible. This time, the parents take them much deeper, hours into the forest. A fire is built. "Sleep," they say. "We will come back for you." And they walk away and do not come back. Gretel falls asleep eventually. Hansel stays awake, watching the sun move across the sky through the gaps in the canopy. When the moon rises, he wakes Gretel, and they look for the crumbs. They are gone. Every one. The birds of the forest, wood pigeons, finches, every bird that flies in the trees have eaten every crumb in the time they slept. The path is clean. The forest is dark in every direction. They are lost. They walk for 3 days. They eat berries when they find them. They drink from streams. They sleep on the ground beneath trees, holding on to each other. On the third morning, a snow-white bird appears on a branch ahead of them and sings. And something about its song, its brightness, its stillness, makes them follow it. It leads them through the trees for an hour until they come to a clearing. And in the clearing, there is a house. Not a woodcutter's house. Not anything like a woodcutter's house. The walls are made of bread. The roof is made of cake. The windows are made of clear sugar. Hansel and Gretel stand at the edge of the clearing and look at it, and then they look at each other. They are starving. They have been starving for a long time.
They approach carefully, as children approach things that seem too good, and Hansel reaches out and breaks off a piece of the roof. It is cake, real sweet cake. He hands some to Gretel. She breaks off a piece of window. It is sugar, clear and crystalline and sweet. They begin to eat. They are not being careful anymore because they are too hungry to be careful. Then a voice comes from inside, softly, gently, almost like a question. Nibble, nibble, little mouse, who is nibbling at my house? The children look at each other. The wind, they say together, the wind, and go on eating. The door opens.
An old woman comes out, leaning on a stick. Ancient, more ancient than anyone either of them has ever seen, bent nearly double, her eyes milky and almost white. She looks at them, or she looks in their direction, because those eyes do not focus the way eyes should. She smiles a smile that has too many teeth in it. "Come in," she says. "Come inside and stay with me. No harm will come to you." And she takes each of them by the hand and leads them into the house. Inside, there is a real meal waiting, as if she knew they were coming. Milk and pancakes with sugar and apples and nuts, and 2 small white beds with clean sheets. The children eat until they cannot eat anymore, and then they get into the beds and fall asleep instantly, deeply, the sleep of the completely exhausted. And while they sleep, the old woman looks at them. And the story tells us what she is. She is a witch. She has built this house of bread and cake and sugar specifically to attract children. Hungry children, lost children, children wandering in forests who have nothing left. She has built a trap disguised as a gift, and she has been catching children in it for a long time. She takes Hansel first in the morning, while he is still dazed with sleep. She carries him to a small stable behind the house and locks him in behind an iron gate. Then she goes back inside and shakes Gretel awake. "Get up," she tells her. "Your brother is in the stable. You will cook for him and for me, and we will fatten him up. And when he is fat enough, I will eat him." Gretel weeps. She looks for a way out. There is none. The witch is stronger than she looks, and the house is a cage. Every morning, the witch goes to the stable and tells Hansel to hold out his finger so she can feel how fat he is getting. Hansel holds out a small bone he has found in the straw. The witch's eyes are nearly blind. She cannot tell the difference between bone and finger, between thin and fat. She goes away dissatisfied. She gives him more food. He holds out the bone again the next morning. This goes on for 4 weeks.
Eventually, the witch loses patience. "Thin or fat," she tells Gretel, "tomorrow I eat him." And tomorrow, Gretel must help her bake. Gretel cries all night. In the morning, she heats water for the witch to cook Hansel in. The witch turns her attention to the bread oven. She says she wants to check if the oven is hot enough, and asks Gretel to lean in and see. Gretel is not stupid. She says she does not know how. She says, "How do I lean in? Show me what you mean." The witch sighs and bends down and leans her head into the oven mouth to show her. Gretel puts both hands flat on the witch's back and pushes with everything she has. She shoves the witch into the oven and slams the iron door shut. The witch begins to scream. Gretel walks away from the door and does not open it again.
She runs to the stable and breaks the gate open and frees her brother. The witch is dead. They look at each other in the sudden silence of the clearing, the birds singing in the forest all around them, the peculiar, ordinary brightness of the day. They go back into the house. In every corner, under every bed, in every cupboard, pearls and precious stones. They fill their pockets and their aprons. They fill everything they can carry. Then they leave. They walk for several hours through the forest and come eventually to a wide river with no bridge. A white duck is swimming in the river, and Gretel asks it, little duck, please carry us across." The duck swims to the bank and takes them one at a time, Hansel first, then Gretel, because Gretel does not want to overload the small duck with both of them at once. This detail, Gretel thinking about the duck's comfort in the middle of her own crisis, is the most quietly remarkable thing in the story. They reach the other side, and the forest becomes familiar, and they begin to run. They run until they see their father's house at the end of the path. The father has not had one happy hour since he left them in the forest. The story is firm about this. He has been miserable and guilty for months. He opens the door, and they fall into his arms, and he holds them and weeps. And the stepmother is dead. The story does not say how she died or when. She is simply gone, as if the universe corrected itself while the children were in the forest, as if the death of the witch and the death of the woman who sent them into the forest to die were connected by some invisible thread of justice. She is dead. The father is alive. The children are home. They empty their pockets onto the table, pearls and precious stones scattering across the wood, and all their troubles are over. They live together in joy for the rest of their lives, all three of them, in the small house at the edge of the forest. The forest is still there, just outside the window, as it always is.
Bluebeard. This is not technically a Brothers Grimm story. It comes from the French writer Charles Perrault, who published it in 1697, a century before the Grimms began their work. But it circulated in the same tradition, the same oral culture, the same dark European river of stories that the Brothers Grimm were drawing from. And it belongs here because of all the stories in this collection,
of witches and curses and poisoned apples and children left in forests. This one is the most straightforwardly about something real, something that has happened in houses in every country, in every century, something that still happens now.
There is a man. He is wealthy, extraordinarily wealthy. Fine houses, good land, silver and gold, furniture of the latest fashion, china and crystal, and every luxury available. He is also frightening to look at. He has a blue beard. Not a dark beard, not a black beard, blue. A vivid, unnatural, deeply unsettling blue. In the village where he lives, this is considered an ill omen. It has also not escaped anyone's notice that he has been married several times, and that none of his wives are anywhere to be found. When people ask about the previous wives, he changes the subject. When people press him, he smiles in a way that closes the conversation entirely.
He approaches a woman, a gentle woman of the neighborhood, respectable family, 2 daughters. He asks if he might marry one of them. The mother and the 2 daughters look at each other. They think about the blue beard. They think about the missing wives. They decline politely. He invites them all, the mother, the daughters, their friends' friends, to spend a week at one of his country houses. The country house is magnificent. There are parties every day, hunting and fishing and music and feasting, everything beautiful and abundant and perfectly arranged. By the end of the week, the younger daughter has reconsidered. The blue beard is still blue, but the house is very fine, and he is very charming, and perhaps, she thinks, perhaps she was wrong about him. She agrees to marry him. They are married. They go to live in his house in the city.
A few weeks after the wedding, he tells her he must go away on business. A long journey. He will be gone for several weeks. He hands her a large ring of keys. These, he says, open everything in the house. The wine cellars, the storerooms, the strong rooms where the silver and gold are kept. All the rooms in the house. You may go into all of them and look at everything freely. Except this one. He holds up a small key. This key opens the small room at the end of the long gallery on the ground floor. That room you must not enter, on pain of my displeasure, on pain of anything you can imagine. Do not go into that room.
He leaves. She invites her friends and her sister to come and stay. They spend the first day exploring the house, the grand rooms, the magnificent furniture, the paintings, the mirrors, the silver, the stores of luxury she has married into. They exclaim and admire. They go through every door the keys open. And on the second day, her friends go home, and she is alone. And she thinks about the small room at the end of the long gallery.
She tells herself she is not going to go. She finds things to do in other parts of the house. She thinks about her husband's words. She thinks about the small key on the ring, smaller than all the others. The one that opens the one door she has been told not to open. She walks past the gallery twice without turning her head. On the third time, she walks to the end of it. She puts the small key in the lock. She turns it. She opens the door.
The floor is covered in blood. The walls are covered in blood. And hanging along the walls, one after another, are the bodies of women. His previous wives. All of them. Every one. He did not remarry because they died. He killed them. Each one who came before her and opened that door, and perhaps some who did not open it, because a man who does this does not stop because he chooses to. He stops only when he is stopped, is hanging here in the dark of this small room at the end of the long gallery. She screams. She drops the key. She picks it up immediately and slams the door and locks it and runs. She runs upstairs and sits on the bed and tries to think.
The key. She looks at the key. It has landed in the blood, and the blood has soaked into it and will not come out. She rubs it with sand. She rubs it with ash from the fireplace. She tries everything she knows. The blood will not come out because the key is enchanted. In Perrault's version, the key is a fairy key, a magic key, and what gets on it stays on it. She cannot hide what she has done.
Her husband comes home the next day, earlier than expected. He is pleasant at first. He asks for his keys. She gives them to him. He counts them carefully. He looks at the small key. He looks at her face. He says, very quietly, very pleasantly, the pleasantness of someone who has done this before. So you went into the room. She says she did not. He holds up the key with the blood on it. She says nothing. He says that she will join the others today. She says she needs a few minutes to prepare herself. She says her prayers, she needs time for her prayers. He agrees. A few minutes. She goes upstairs. Her sister Anne is visiting. She tells Anne to go to the roof of the house and look down the road toward the city and watch for their brothers who were supposed to come today. Every few minutes she calls from the window. Sister Anne? Sister Anne? Do you see anyone coming? And Anne calls back. I see nothing but the sun shining and the grass growing green. Their husband calls from below. Your time is up. Come down. She calls for one more minute. One more minute. Sister Anne? Sister Anne? Do you see anyone coming? I see a great cloud of dust coming this way. It is our brothers. They are coming. They are nearly here. Come down, calls the husband. His voice has changed. One more minute. One more minute. Sister Anne, do you see anyone? They are here. They are at the gate. The brothers burst through the door as Bluebeard has his wife by the hair, with his sword raised. They draw their own swords and run him through. He dies on the floor of the house he built, full of locked rooms and dead women. He dies very quickly and without any of the ceremony he had planned for his wife. She inherits everything. The houses, the land, the gold and silver, all of it. She gives part of it to her sister and part to her brothers. The rest she uses to make a life for herself. She remarries eventually. A good man this time. A man with no blue beard and no locked rooms and no missing previous wives. And the story tells us that in time, she forgot the terrible things she had seen, that the memory of the small room at the end of the long gallery faded. Perhaps it did. Perhaps she was able to forget what was in that room and what the man she had called her husband was capable of, and what had been hanging on those walls in the dark before she unlocked the door.
Tom Thumb. Every culture has a small hero, a figure no bigger than a thumb or a finger or a bean, who moves through the world of ordinary-sized things and survives by wit and luck and sheer stubbornness. In the Brothers Grimm collection, this figure is Tom Thumb, Daumerling in German, thumb-sized, born to a peasant couple who wanted a child so desperately that the husband said in despair, "I wish we had a child, even if it were no bigger than my thumb." Something heard this wish. Something always hears these wishes in these stories. And 9 months later, they had a son. Perfectly formed, perfectly healthy, perfectly intelligent, and no bigger than a thumb. He never grew any larger. They named him Tom Thumb, and they loved him completely. The world is enormous when you are the size of a thumb. Every ordinary object is a landscape. Every table is a cliff. Every puddle is an ocean. Every cat is a monster. Tom Thumb navigated this world with the combination of cleverness and recklessness that small creatures in large worlds always need.
When his father was going out to work in the forest one morning, and his mother was sad that they had no one to bring the horse and cart with his lunch, Tom Thumb said, "I will do it." His father laughed. Tom Thumb climbed into the horse's ear and directed it from there, calling out left and right until the horse found its way. Two strangers watching this from the roadside, a horse walking alone with a small voice directing it, decided immediately that this was worth money. They offered to buy Tom Thumb from his father for a considerable sum. His father said he would never sell his child. Tom Thumb whispered to his father, "Take the money. I will be back by evening." His father took the money. The strangers put Tom Thumb in the brim of one of their hats and walked away. When evening came, Tom Thumb asked to get down. They set him down by a mouse hole. He slipped inside. They dug for him until it was too dark to see, and then gave up and went home. Tom Thumb slept in the mouse hole, and in the morning made his way back to his father.
His father was delighted. His mother was relieved. He was home by nightfall, as he had said. But the world kept reaching in to take him. A cow swallowed him when he sat on a haystack and was carried into the cow's mouth with the mowing. He survived inside the cow by shouting until the cowherd told the farmer the cow was possessed, and the farmer killed it. The cow's stomach was thrown on the dung heap. A wolf came along and swallowed the stomach whole. Inside the wolf, Tom Thumb bargained. He said, "I know where there is better food than this." He directed the wolf to his parents' house. He directed it through a crack under the storeroom door. The wolf ate until it could not move. Tom Thumb began shouting. His parents woke. His father took an axe. The wolf was killed. Tom Thumb was found inside it. tired and small and unharmed. He came back to his parents every time. He was swallowed and recovered. He was stolen and returned. He was lost and found.
The story is episodic and circular. Tom Thumb escapes one thing and walks into another. And this is appropriate because small people in large worlds live episodic, circular lives. Every day is a new crisis. Every day is survived by the same combination of wit and stubbornness that got through the previous one. His parents never stopped being happy to see him. Every time he came back through the door, whatever door he could fit through, whatever crack he could squeeze under, his mother and father were simply glad. They had wished for a child, and they had gotten one. He was small. He was theirs. He was clever and brave, and he always came home. In the end, this is what the story is about. Not the adventures, not the wolf or the cow, or the strangers who tried to buy him. The parents who loved what they got when they asked for something. The wish that was answered in an unexpected form. And the love that did not require the child to be anything other than what he was.
The robber bridegroom. There is a miller. There are a great many millers in these stories. A great many men who make decisions about their daughters without consulting the daughters. Who has a beautiful daughter and who finds her a husband. The husband is rich. He seems respectable. He presents himself well. The miller is satisfied. The daughter is not satisfied at all. She cannot say why exactly. There is nothing she can point to. But every time she looks at her intended husband, she feels something move through her that is not love, not excitement, not happiness. It is cold. It moves through her like a draft from an open door in winter. She does not trust him. She does not know why. She trusts the feeling. He invites her to come to his house, to see where she will live after the wedding, to become familiar with it. He tells her he lives deep in the forest. He tells her to follow the trail of ashes he will leave her for her. She goes. She follows the ashes into the forest, deeper and deeper, the trees closing overhead until the sky is barely visible, and the path behind her seems to narrow with every step. She finds the house eventually, dark, large, silent in the middle of the forest. No smoke from the chimney, no sound. The kind of house that seems to be holding its breath. She goes inside. In the dark hallway, a cage hangs from the ceiling. Inside the cage is a bird. As she passes it, the bird calls out, turn back, young bride. You are in a murderer's house." She does not turn back. She is already deep in the forest, and the path is a trail of ashes, and it is getting dark. She goes forward through the house. She goes down to the cellar. There is an old woman in the cellar, ancient, sitting very still, the kind of old that accumulates in dark places over many years. The old woman looks at her and shakes her head slowly. She says, "You poor child, do you know where you are? This house belongs to robbers. They brought you here to kill you and eat you. If I do not hide you, they will kill you when they come home. Come with me." She hides the girl behind a large barrel in the darkest corner of the cellar.
She tells her to be still and not make any sound. They wait. Night comes.
The robbers come home, many of them, loud and drunk and carrying something. They are carrying a young woman, another young woman, dragged from somewhere, terrified and weeping. They drag her to the table. They give her wine, 3 glasses, the old woman notes from the shadows, 1 glass for each part of her that will die. And the girl's heart bursts from fright before they can do anything else. They cut her up. They salt the pieces. They are planning to eat her. One of them notices a gold ring on her finger. He cannot get it off. He takes a hatchet. The finger flies through the air and lands behind the barrel in the hidden girl's lap. She does not move. She does not breathe. The old woman reaches over and silently drops an apple on the floor to cover the sound if the girl makes one. The robbers eat and drink and eventually fall asleep. The old woman wakes the girl before dawn. She says, "Go now, go quickly, and do not stop for anything." The girl takes the finger with the gold ring and runs. She runs through the forest in the dark, following the trail of ashes in reverse. She runs until she is out of the forest, and runs until she is home, and she locks the door, and she sits down and does not move for a long time. The wedding is scheduled. It arrives. The guests come to the miller's house, the bride's family, friends, neighbors, the robber and his companions. They sit at the long table, and they eat and drink, and eventually someone proposes that everyone tell a story. They go around the table. When it comes to the bride, she says, "I will tell you a dream I had. Only a dream." She tells them everything. She tells them about the trail of ashes, and the house in the forest, and the bird in the cage, and the old woman in the cellar, and the other young woman dragged in, and the 3 glasses of wine, and the hatchet, and the finger that flew through the air. She tells them every detail, calmly, precisely, looking at the tablecloth. She says at each stage, "And then I dreamed, and in my dream I saw." She reaches the end of the story. She looks up. She says, "And that was my dream." She reaches into her pocket. She puts the finger with the gold ring on the table in front of her bridegroom.
The Juniper Tree. This is widely considered the darkest story in the entire Brothers Grimm collection. It was a particular favorite of the Brothers Grimm themselves. Wilhelm Grimm considered it one of the most perfect fairy tales they had gathered, a story so old and so strange and so structurally complete that it seemed to have grown rather than been written. It is violent. It is disturbing in ways that are not easily forgotten. It is also, underneath all of that, a story about justice. About the particular justice that fairy tales believe in. Absolute,
inevitable, shaped to fit the crime exactly. Hold on to this. The ending is good, but the road to it is long and dark.
A wealthy man and his wife live in a house with a courtyard. In the courtyard grows a juniper tree, old, beautiful, fragrant. They have been married for 2 years and want a child desperately. One winter afternoon, the wife stands beneath the juniper tree, peeling an apple. The snow is white around her, and the apple is red in her hands, and she cuts her finger without noticing immediately, and a drop of blood falls on the snow. She looks at it, red on white, vivid and bright, and she makes a wish. She wishes for a child as red as blood and as white as snow.
Something shifts, something in the tree, or in the sky, or in the particular quality of winter light through the branches acknowledges the wish. She becomes pregnant. She is happy in a way she has not been before. In spring, when the juniper tree blooms, she goes out to eat its berries and becomes sad without knowing why. In summer, when the fruit ripens, she is better. In autumn, she picks the fruit and gives it to her husband and weeps. In winter, she goes to bed, and she gives birth, and she dies. Her husband buries her beneath the juniper tree as she asked him to. He mourns. Time passes. He marries again. The second wife has a daughter of her own, a small girl called Marlinshire, and she gives the widower a stepson. No, this is not right. She inherits a stepson, the boy she has not chosen and does not want. She treats Marlinshire well. She treats the boy with the particular coldness that is worse in some ways than open cruelty, because it is so deliberate and so sustained and so difficult for anyone outside the house to see clearly.
She wants the boy gone. This desire grows in her quietly and steadily over months, until one day in autumn, she is standing in the kitchen, and the boy comes in from school and asks for an apple, and she tells him, yes, there are apples in the big chest in the front room. Go and take one. He goes to the chest and lifts the heavy lid and leans in to look for the best apple, and she comes up behind him and slams the lid down on his neck. His head comes off. It falls inside the chest with the apples. She stands in the kitchen and breathes. Then she thinks. She picks his head up and carries it to his body and ties his neck with a cloth so that it looks as if it is still attached. She sits him in a chair by the front door with an apple in his hand, and she goes back to the kitchen. When Marlinshire comes home from school, she tells her, go and ask your brother for an apple, but if he does not answer you, box his ear. Marlinshire goes to the front door. She asks her brother for an apple. He does not answer. She boxes his ear, just lightly, a child's tap. His head falls off and rolls across the floor. Marlinshire screams. She runs back to her mother. She says, I have knocked my brother's head off. The stepmother looks at her. She says, don't be silly, but if you have done something wrong, we must keep it between us. Say nothing to anyone, and no one will know. She makes a stew. She puts the boy in it. She puts it on the fire and cooks it all afternoon. When the father comes home that evening, she serves it to him and tells him it is a special stew she has made. He eats and eats. He tears the meat from the bones and throws the bones under the table. He cannot stop eating. He says, "This is wonderful. Give me more. No one else may have any of this. This is all for me." He eats until it is gone. He sits back, full and contented. The stepmother is in the kitchen watching. Marlinchen is under the table. She is gathering the bones. Every bone she can find, she gathers them all and wraps them in her best silk handkerchief, a handkerchief she loves. And she carries them outside and lays them in the green grass beneath the juniper tree. And she kneels there and weeps until she cannot weep anymore.
Then something happens. The juniper tree begins to move. The branches stir, though there is no wind. They spread and come together, spread and come together, like hands clasping and releasing. A mist rises from the tree, a beautiful mist, a mist that catches the last light of the evening and glows with it. Something rises from the mist, a bird, a beautiful bird with red and green feathers and a neck like beaten gold and eyes like stars. It opens its beak and sings, and the song it sings is the most beautiful sound anyone in the neighborhood has ever heard. It rises up out of the courtyard and flies away over the rooftops and away into the town.
It lands on the roof of a goldsmith's house. It sits there and sings. The goldsmith comes out into the street and looks up and listens. The bird sings its song again, a strange song, more like words than music, and the goldsmith listens until he understands them. The bird is singing about what happened. The bird is singing the truth of what the stepmother did. When the song is done, the goldsmith says, "That was the most beautiful thing I have ever heard. What would you take for it?" The bird says, "Give me the gold chain you made this morning, and I will sing it again." The goldsmith goes inside and comes back with a beautiful gold chain and holds it up. The bird takes it in its right claw and sings again, and the song is everything it was the first time and more. Then it flies on. It lands on the roof of a shoemaker's house and sings. The shoemaker comes out. He listens. He weeps because it is so beautiful and so terrible what the song describes. He asks what the bird wants. The bird says, "Give me the red shoes you finished yesterday, and I will sing it again." The shoemaker brings the shoes and holds them up, and the bird takes them in its left claw and sings again and flies on.
It lands on a mill. The millers are working, and they hear the singing, and they all come out, the master and the workers and everyone in the mill, and they stand in the yard and listen. When the song ends, one of the millers asks what the bird wants. It says, "Give me the millstone, and I will sing it again." The master says the millstone is not his alone to give. They must all agree. The workers agree. They lift the millstone. It takes all of them to do it, and hold it up. The bird puts its neck through the hole in the center and takes the weight of it, and sings again, and flies back. It comes back to the house with the juniper tree in the courtyard. It has the gold chain in its right claw, and the red shoes in its left claw, and the millstone around its neck. The father is sitting inside at the table. He says, "I feel so strange. I feel so light, as if something wonderful is about to happen." The stepmother is in the kitchen. She feels strange too. She feels uneasy, as if the house is pressing in on her from all sides. Marlinchen is sitting in the corner. She is weeping. The bird lands on the juniper tree and begins to sing. The father comes outside to listen. He stands in the courtyard with his head tilted up, listening to the song. The bird drops the gold chain, and it falls around his neck perfectly. He goes inside and says, "The bird gave me this beautiful gold chain, and I feel so much better now." Marlinchen comes outside. The bird drops the red shoes, and they fall perfectly at her feet. She puts them on. She goes inside and dances. The stepmother comes to the door. She comes outside into the courtyard. She stands beneath the juniper tree, looking up at the bird. The bird drops the millstone. It falls on her head. She is crushed, gone, immediately, and completely. From the fire and smoke that rise from where she fell, the boy appears, standing in the courtyard, in the afternoon light, whole and well, and himself. He takes his father's hand. He takes Marlinchen's hand. They go inside the house together and sit down at the table, and they eat their supper, and they are very happy. The juniper tree stands in the courtyard. The bird is gone. The mist is gone. The tree stands in the quiet of the autumn evening, its branches still, its roots deep in the earth, where the boy's mother was buried years ago, the tree that she asked to be buried under, the tree that gave back what was taken, the tree that remembered.
The Girl Without Hands. This is one of the strangest and most harrowing stories in the entire Brothers Grimm collection. It is not well known. It does not have a Disney adaptation. It has not been made into a musical. It does not appear on nursery walls or children's bedroom curtains. And yet, it is one of the most complete stories the Grimms ever published. A story about loss and endurance, and the particular cruelty of men who mean well, and the particular strength of women who survive them. There is a miller. He is poor, not dramatically poor, not starving, but the slow, grinding poor of a man who works hard and has little to show for it.
One day he is cutting wood in the forest, and an old man appears to him. The old man makes him an offer. "Give me what stands behind your mill," he says, "and I will make you rich beyond anything you can imagine." The miller thinks about what stands behind his mill. A large apple tree, an old apple tree that has been there since before he can remember, that produces fruit every year, that is the only thing of beauty in the yard behind the mill.
He thinks it is only a tree. He agrees. He goes home. He tells his wife about the bargain. His wife goes white. She takes him to the back of the mill. She shows him what is standing behind the mill. Their daughter. Their daughter is standing in the yard behind the mill, sweeping it clean with a broom. She was there all along, and the miller did not think of her. He made his bargain over his daughter's head, without a thought. The old man in the forest was not an old man. He was the devil. And the devil has a claim on the miller's daughter now. In 3 years, he will come to collect her. 3 years pass. The miller becomes rich. Astonishingly, inexplicably rich. As the devil's bargains always deliver. On the morning of the 3rd year, the daughter washes herself clean and draws a circle of chalk around herself and stands in it. The devil comes. He cannot approach her. She is too pure.
Still, he cannot touch her. He is furious. He tells the miller, "Cut off her hands. Cut them off and give her to me, or I will take you instead." The miller weeps. He tells his daughter what the devil has demanded. And his daughter, this girl who has done nothing, who made no bargain, who was entirely innocent of everything that has brought this down on her, says to her father, "Do it. I am your daughter, and I would rather have you keep your life. Do it." He cuts off her hands. The devil comes a 3rd time. The girl weeps over her stumps, and her tears keep them clean, and the devil still cannot take her. He has lost. He goes. He does not come back. The miller, rich now, offers to keep his daughter and care for her for the rest of her life. He says he will give her everything she could want. The girl looks at her father. She looks at the man who agreed to a bargain without reading its terms, who cut off her hands to save himself. She says, "I cannot stay here. I will go out into the world and depend on the kindness of strangers."
Strangers cannot do worse than this. She has her arms bound with white cloth. She walks out into the world at dawn and does not look back. She walks all day and into the evening until she comes to a royal garden full of fruit trees. The garden is surrounded by a moat, and she cannot get in. She is so hungry, she has not eaten since yesterday. She kneels at the edge of the moat, and she prays. An angel appears. The story is quite matter-of-fact about this. An angel appears, as angels do in these stories, as a practical solution to a practical problem. And the angel causes the water to part, so she can walk through on dry ground. She goes into the garden and finds a pear tree and eats one pear from it, carefully, leaning the fruit against a branch and eating around it without hands. A gardener watches from the shadows, but does not stop her. The king who owns the garden is told in the morning that someone came in the night and ate a pear. He watches the next night himself, and he sees her. White wrapped arms, white dress, a girl like a ghost, moving through the orchard, eating a pear by the light of the moon.
He loves her immediately and completely, the way people in these stories always love, suddenly and without reservation. He asks her to come inside. He asks who she is. She tells him everything. He looks at her and says, "I will not leave you as long as I live." He has silver hands made for her by his best craftsman, beautiful, articulate silver hands, and he puts them on her himself. He marries her. The king goes to war. He leaves his young wife at his mother's palace and tells his mother to care for her and to write to him when the child comes. The child comes, a son, beautiful and healthy, and the king's mother sends word immediately. But the devil, who lost his claim on the girl but has not forgiven the loss, intercepts the messenger. He changes the letter. When the letter reaches the king, it says that his wife has given birth to a changeling, a monstrous child, half animal, not his. The king is devastated. He writes back, "Care for them both until I return." The devil intercepts this letter too. He changes it.
When the letter reaches the mother, it says, "Kill the wife and the child, and keep the tongue and eyes as proof." The king's mother reads the letter. She looks at the young queen. She looks at the baby. She cannot do it. She kills a doe instead and sends its tongue and eyes. And she tells the young queen, "I cannot keep you here. I do not know what you have done to make the king send such a letter, but I will not carry out his orders. Take your child and go. Go into the world and do not come back." The young queen ties her baby to her back with a cloth, without hands, with silver hands that are beautiful but not quite her own, and she walks into the forest. She walks until she cannot walk anymore.
She is in the deepest part of the forest, and she is exhausted, and she cannot go on. She kneels beside a stream and tries to drink. The baby nearly falls into the water. She reaches out to catch him, and her hands, her own hands, flesh and blood and bone, the ones that were cut off years ago in the yard behind the mill, grow back.
Fully, instantly, completely. She kneels by the stream with her child in her arms and looks at her own hands. An angel leads her to a small house in the forest with a sign above the door that says, "Here all may live freely." Inside, a young woman in white welcomes her and calls her by name and tells her to rest. She rests for 7 years. She raises her son in the forest cottage. She names him Sorrowful because of everything that has happened. He grows into a bright and beautiful child who has never known anything but the peace of the forest and his mother's presence. The king comes home from the war. He asks for his wife and son. His mother shows him the letters, both of them, the real ones and the changed ones. She tells him what the devil did. She shows him the doe's tongue and eyes. The king understands everything. He weeps for days. Then he gets up and says he will not eat or drink until he has found his wife and child, or knows they are dead. He walks into the forest. He walks for 7 years through every forest in every kingdom, looking for them. On the 7th year, he comes to the small house in the forest with the sign above the door.
He is exhausted and hollow-eyed and thin from years of searching. An angel meets him at the door and leads him inside. He sees a woman asleep on a bed with a child beside her. He looks at her face. He looks at her hands, flesh, real, her own. He does not wake her. He kneels beside the bed and weeps quietly until she opens her eyes. She looks at him. He says her name. She says, "I am your wife." He does not understand about the hands. She holds them up. She tells him everything: the forest, the cottage, the 7 years, the child sleeping beside her. He looks at the boy. The boy opens his eyes and looks at his father. He says, "This is my father," because she has told him about his father every night for 7 years. She has told him everything. She has not let him forget. They go home together. The king's mother celebrates. There is a second wedding, because the first feels too far away and too painful to simply return to. And they live, the story says, happily until the end of their lives. The miller is not mentioned again. The devil does not return. The silver hands are presumably somewhere in the palace, in a box, or on a shelf, or perhaps displayed somewhere as a reminder of what was survived. The real hands, returned by some grace that the story does not name or explain, do the ordinary work of a life, holding a child, opening a door, touching a face, the ordinary miraculous work of hands that were lost and came back.
The Devil with the 3 Golden Hairs. There is a poor woman who gives birth to a son with a caul over his face, a membrane, a veil of skin across his features that some babies are born with, and that in every folklore tradition signifies something: luck, second sight, destiny. The child born with a caul is marked before he draws his first breath. In this story,
The call means the boy will marry the king's daughter when he is 14 years old. A fortune teller reads this from his berth. Word gets out. The king hears about it. The king does not want his daughter to marry a peasant boy, not because of anything the boy has done, but because of what he is. Poor, common, not the kind of husband a king arranges for a princess. He goes to the boy's parents. He tells them he wishes to help the child, to take him to the palace to be raised properly, to give him opportunities. The parents are poor and trustful, and they say yes. They let their child go with the king. The king puts the boy in a box and throws the box into a river. The box does not sink. It floats.
It floats downstream until a miller finds it and opens it and discovers a living child inside, undrowned, unafraid, apparently entirely fine. The miller and his wife have no children. They raise the boy as their own. He grows up kind and capable and good, and when he is 14 years old, the king rides through the area and stops at the mill. He asks about the young man who works there. He learns who he is. He recognizes him. He is furious that the boy survived, but he does not show this. He is pleasant. He says he has a message he needs delivered to his palace and asks the boy to carry it. He writes the message himself on a piece of paper and seals it and hands it to the boy. The message says, "Kill the bearer of this letter immediately upon his arrival." The boy takes the letter and sets out. He travels through a forest. It is getting dark. He cannot find an inn. He knocks on a door in the forest, a small house. A woman answers. She looks at him with concern. She says this is a robber's house and he should not stay here. It is not safe. He says he is so tired he cannot go further, and he does not fear robbers.
He is certain the boy will die trying. The boy sets out. He travels through a city where the fountain that used to run wine has dried up, and no one knows why. They ask him to find out. He travels through another city where a tree that used to bear golden apples no longer grows any fruit. They ask him to find out. He comes to a great river with a ferry. The ferryman tells him he has been crossing this river for years and can never stop. The moment he passes the rope to someone else, he is free, but no one will take it. He asks the boy to find out how he can be released. The boy crosses the river. On the other side, he finds a house. An old woman sits inside, ancient, the devil's grandmother, a woman who has seen everything and whose patience has run out some decades ago. She is sympathetic but practical. She tells him the devil will kill him when he comes home. She turns him into an ant and hides him in her skirt. She promises to get the 3 hairs. The devil comes home. He sniffs. He says he smells the flesh of a man.
The grandmother says there is no man. He is imagining things. Here, sit down and let me look at your head. Let me check you for lice. The devil lies down with his head in her lap. She begins to look through his hair. When he falls asleep, she pulls out a golden hair. He wakes with a shout. "What are you doing?" She says, "I had a dream." She tells him a dream about a city where the fountain that used to run wine has dried up. The devil, still half asleep, says, "Ha! There is a toad sitting under a stone in the fountain. Kill the toad and the wine will run again." He falls back asleep. She pulls a second hair. He wakes again. She tells him a dream about a tree that no longer bears golden apples. The devil says, "There is a mouse gnawing at the root. Kill the mouse and the apples will come back." He sleeps. She pulls the third hair. He wakes roaring. She tells him a dream about a ferryman who cannot stop crossing a river. The devil says, "The fool, all he has to do is press the rope into the hand of the next passenger and walk away."
He goes back to sleep. In the morning, he leaves. The grandmother turns the ant back into a boy. She gives him the 3 golden hairs. She tells him what the devil said about each dream. He thanks her and crosses the river. He tells the ferryman what the devil said. The ferryman thanks him and asks him to cross just one more time with him, just this last time. And then he will take the boy's hand and press the rope into it and walk away free. The boy agrees. He crosses. He steps off the boat. The ferryman presses the rope into his hand. The ferryman walks away. The boy calls after him, "Wait, I cannot stay here all day. I have to go." The ferryman is already gone. The boy calls to a traveler waiting on the bank. "Come, I will take you across, but take the rope when we land. I cannot stay." He crosses. The traveler takes the rope. The boy walks away. He goes to the city with the dead tree. He tells them about the mouse at the root. They kill the mouse. The tree immediately flowers with golden apples.
The townspeople are so grateful. They load the boy down with gold, and he travels on, weighted with treasure. He goes to the city with the dry fountain. He tells them about the toad under the stone. They find the stone and kill the toad. The fountain immediately flows with wine. The townspeople are so grateful they load him with more gold, and he travels on to the palace with more wealth than he started with, and 3 golden hairs in his pocket. The king looks at the 3 golden hairs. He looks at the gold. He asks, "Where did all this gold come from?" The boy tells him, "There are shores where gold washes up instead of sand. You can collect it freely there." The king's eyes go wide. He says he will go himself and collect some. He rides to the great river. He calls for the ferryman. The ferryman comes. The king gets into the boat. When they reach the other side, the ferryman presses the rope into the king's hands and steps off the boat and walks away. The king calls after him. He cannot leave the rope. He cannot stop. He has been there ever since, the story says, as a punishment for his wickedness, ferrying passengers across the river for eternity, never able to stop, never able to pass the rope to anyone who knows the trick. The boy lives with the princess in the palace. He is kind. He is good. He has been kind and good all along. The fortune teller read that correctly, if nothing else. The princess loves him. The story ends there, with the king stuck at the river, and the couple at the palace, and the devil sitting somewhere with 3 fewer golden hairs than he started with, wondering what happened.
Sleeping Beauty. Everyone knows the broad outline. A princess, a curse, 100 years of sleep. A prince who finds her. A kiss, an awakening. The end. It is one of the most familiar stories in the Western world. So familiar that most people have stopped actually hearing it. They think they know what it contains. They do not know what it contains. The Brothers Grimm version, which they called Briar Rose, is itself already a softened retelling of something older, something that the Grimms encountered in the existing tradition of European folktales and cleaned up, smoothed out, made more suitable for the collection they were assembling.
Because the story the Brothers Grimm worked from, the version written by the Italian poet Giambattista Basile in 1634, a version called Sun, Moon, and Talia, is a different story entirely, and it is important to know it exists, not because darkness for its own sake is valuable, but because the story underneath the story tells you what the story was actually about, what it was always about, and what was quietly removed so that children could be told it at bedtime without their parents feeling uncomfortable.
But let us begin with the Grimm version, because even the Grimm version contains things that the cartoon does not. A king and queen have a daughter. At her christening, they invite the wise women of the kingdom. The Grimms call them wise women, other versions call them fairies, to bestow gifts on the child. There are 13 wise women in the kingdom, but only 12 golden plates to serve them at the feast. The king, rather than having a 13th plate made or borrowing one from a neighbor, simply does not invite the 13th wise woman. She is not told. She is excluded from her own grandchild's christening over a plate.
12 wise women give their gifts: beauty, virtue, wealth, grace, the ability to dance, the ability to sing, everything a princess might need in the world these stories imagine. And then the 13th wise woman walks in. She was not invited, but she came anyway because she knew she had been excluded, and she is, understandably, furious. She does not give a gift. She gives a curse. In her 15th year, she says, the princess will prick her finger on a spindle and fall down dead. Then she turns and walks out. The 12th wise woman has not yet given her gift. She cannot undo the curse entirely. The 13th's magic is too strong for that, but she can soften it. Not death, she says. Not death, but a sleep of 100 years, from which she will be woken by a king's son.
The king immediately orders every spindle in the kingdom burned. Every one. He sends soldiers through every village, every house, every workshop, confiscating and burning. This seems thorough. It does not work. Because on the day the princess turns 15, she is wandering through the palace. Her parents are away, she has never been told why spindles are forbidden, because presumably her parents intended to tell her at some point and simply never got around to it, and she finds an old tower she has never entered before. She climbs the stairs. At the top sits an old woman spinning with a spindle. The princess has never seen a spindle in her life. She is fascinated. She asks to try. She touches it. She pricks her finger. She falls.
Everyone in the palace falls with her. The king and queen, who have just returned home, the horses in the stables, the dogs in the yard, the doves on the roof, the flies on the wall. The fire in the hearth stops burning. The meat on the spit stops turning. The cook, who was about to box the kitchen boy's ears for some small misdeed, freezes with her hand raised. Everyone sleeps. And around the palace, a hedge of thorns begins to grow. It grows through the night and through the following days, and over the months and years, it grows so thick and so tall that the palace behind it disappears entirely. Nothing is visible. You would not know anything was there. Over the following 100 years, many princes try to cut through the thorn hedge. They come with swords and axes and determination, and the thorns hold them. The brambles close around them as they hack, and they cannot move forward and they cannot pull back, and they die there, tangled in the thorns, visible from the road as a warning that no one heeds, because princes in stories never heed warnings. It is their defining characteristic.
On the day the 100 years are complete, exactly to the hour, a prince comes to the kingdom and hears the old story. An old man tells him about the palace in the thorns, the sleeping princess, the princes who died trying to reach her. The prince decides immediately that he will succeed where all the others failed. He walks to the hedge, and the thorns part for him. Not because he is braver or stronger or better than the men who died there, but because the time is right. Because 100 years have passed. The hedge simply opens, and he walks through, and the dead princes hang in the thorns around him like decorations, and he does not dwell on this. He walks through the silent palace, the flies motionless on the walls, the cook still frozen with her hand raised, the horses in the stables. He finds the room where the princess sleeps in her bed. He looks at her for a long time. Then he leans down and kisses her. She opens her eyes. She looks at him. He is the first person she has seen in 100 years. Everyone she knew before is dead. Her parents, her nurses, the servants. Everyone who loved her and knew her as a person rather than a sleeping body in a tower is gone. She looks at this stranger who has just kissed her without her knowledge or consent while she was unconscious. And the story tells us that she looks at him warmly and says, "Is it you, my prince? I have waited so long for you."
The palace wakes around them. The king and queen rise from their chairs. The horses in the stables shake themselves. The dogs run in circles. The doves on the roof fly off. The cook boxes the kitchen boy's ears, and he cries out because as far as he is concerned, no time has passed at all. The fire crackles, the meat turns on the spit, and the wedding is celebrated that evening with great joy. They live, the Grimms tell us, happily until the end of their days. This is the cleaned-up version. This is the one the Brothers Grimm considered appropriate. Basila's version, the one underneath, is this. A king is out hunting, and his falcon flies into a flax mill and will not come out. The king goes inside to retrieve it and finds a beautiful girl sitting at a table, spinning, so deeply enchanted that she cannot be woken by any sound or touch. He looks at her for a long time. He tries to wake her. He cannot. And so he does what the king in Basila's story does without apparent guilt or internal conflict. He assaults her while she is unconscious, then climbs out the window and goes home, and largely forgets about it. 9 months later, the sleeping girl, her name is Talia, gives birth to twins while still asleep. The twins crawl around searching for milk. One of them takes her finger and begins to suck it, drawing out the sliver of flax that has been lodged there since she pricked it years before. She wakes. She is alone in a mill. She has 2 children she does not remember conceiving. She names them Sun and Moon, and she raises them there alone.
The king eventually remembers her and returns. He finds her awake and finds the children, and is charmed by all 3 of them and visits regularly. He brings her gifts. He tells her he loves her. He has a wife at home. He does not mention the wife. His wife eventually notices his absences and his distraction and bribes a servant to find out where he goes. The servant discovers the truth. The wife sends a message to Talia, pretending to be from the king, asking her to send the children for a visit. Talia sends them. The wife orders the cook to kill the children and cook them and serve them to the king for dinner. The cook cannot bring himself to kill the children. He hides them with his wife and cooks 2 lambs instead. The king eats the meal.
His wife watches him and tells him he is eating his own children. He does not believe her. She has Talia brought to the palace and tells her what she has done and orders her burned alive. The king arrives in time to save Talia. He has his wife burned instead. He marries Talia. He is reunited with his children, who are alive and fine. They all live happily ever after. The cook is rewarded for his mercy.
This is the story that Sleeping Beauty grew from. A girl who was violated while unconscious, who woke alone with children she could not account for, who was then hunted by a jealous wife, who survived and was rewarded with marriage to the man who assaulted her. Presented as a happy ending, presented as romance. The thorns that grow around the palace in the Grimm version, the thorns that kill all the princes who come too early, in the light of Basile's original, read differently. They are not obstacles for brave princes to overcome. They are protection. They are the thing that should have been there from the beginning. Too late, and not enough, but there.
Rumpelstiltskin. There is a miller who cannot stop talking. This is his defining characteristic and also his fatal flaw, and also, eventually, his daughter's near undoing. He talks and talks, at market, at the tavern, at church, to anyone who will listen, and one day he talks to the king. And because he wants to impress the king, because every ordinary man wants to say something that makes a king lean forward with interest, he says the first impressive thing that comes into his head. He says that his daughter can spin straw into gold. He has no idea if this is true. He has no evidence for it whatsoever. He has a daughter who spins perfectly well and who is very beautiful, and beyond that, he is not sure. But the king leans forward with exactly the interest the miller was hoping for. The king has the girl brought to the palace immediately. He leads her to a room filled floor to ceiling with straw. He points to the spinning wheel in the corner. He says, "Spin this into gold by morning, or you will die." And he locks the door.
The girl sits down in the middle of all the straw and weeps. She has no idea how to spin straw into gold. She does not think anyone does. She weeps until the door opens and a small man comes in, small and strange and ancient-looking, with quick, bright eyes. He asks her why she is crying. She tells him. He asks what she will give him if he spins it for her. She looks at him. She looks at the room full of straw and the door locked from outside. She takes the necklace from around her neck and gives it to him. He sits down at the wheel and begins to spin. He spins all night, and by morning the room is full of gold thread on gold bobbins, every strand of straw transformed. He is gone before the king arrives.
The king is pleased. He is also greedy, which is what kings in fairy tales always are. He takes her to a larger room with more straw and gives her the same instruction. By morning, or you die. The small man comes again when she weeps. This time she has nothing but the ring on her finger. She gives him the ring. He spins all night, gold in the morning. The king is more pleased and more greedy. A third room, enormous, floor to ceiling, wall to wall with straw.
by morning or you die. But this time, if you succeed, I will marry you." The small man comes when she weeps. He asks what she will give him. She has nothing left, no jewelry, nothing she is wearing, nothing on her person. He looks at her. He says, "Promise me that when you are queen, your first child will come to me." She thinks about the straw. She thinks about what the king will do if it is not gold by morning. She promises. He spins. Gold in the morning. The king marries her. She becomes queen.
A year later, she has a baby. She has been so happy, genuinely, surprisingly happy, that she has almost forgotten the promise. The small man has not forgotten. He arrives in her chamber one evening and says, "Give me what you promised." The queen begs him. She offers him all the wealth of the kingdom, gold, silver, jewels, land, anything. He shakes his head. He wants only the child. She weeps. He looks at her weeping, and something shifts in him. Something that is not quite mercy, but is adjacent to it. He gives her 3 days. If in 3 days she can guess his name, he will release her from the promise.
She stays up all night making lists of every name she has ever heard. She sends messengers throughout the kingdom to collect names. Every name in use, every unusual name, every name from old stories and church registers and foreign places. The first day, she tries hundreds of names. Caspar, Melchior, Balthazar, every name she can think of. None of them are right. The small man smiles and leaves. The second day, she tries more. Unusual names, strange names, names her messengers have brought back from distant parts of the kingdom. None of them are right. He smiles again and leaves.
On the third day, one of her messengers comes back from the deep forest. He was riding through the trees, he says, and came to a small house he had never seen before. A fire was burning in front of it, and a little man was dancing around the fire, hopping on one leg, singing to himself. The messenger listened. He has written down the words. He gives the queen the paper. She reads it. "Tonight I brew, tonight I bake. Tomorrow I will take the queen's child home. And how glad I am that no one knows that Rumpelstiltskin is my name." The queen reads it twice. She reads it a third time. She folds the paper carefully. When the small man comes that evening, she plays the game straight-faced. "Is your name Conrad?" "No." "Is it Heinz?" "No." His smile gets wider. "Perhaps. Is your name Rumpelstiltskin?" And she watches his face change. He goes white, then red, then a color that has no name. He stamps his right foot into the ground so hard it goes in up to his knee. He grabs his left leg with both hands and tears himself in two. He disappears. Whether he is dead or simply gone, the story does not say. The queen keeps her child. The miller is not mentioned again.
Rapunzel. There is a man and a woman who want a child more than anything in the world. They have wanted one for years. They live in a small house with a window that looks out over a beautiful garden, but the garden does not belong to them.
It belongs to the witch who lives next door. The witch's garden is the most beautiful garden in the country. Vegetables and flowers and herbs of every kind grow there in abundance. The walls around it are high, and everyone in the neighborhood knows not to go inside.
One day, the woman looks out her window at the garden and sees a bed of Rapunzel growing there, a leafy plant, something like lettuce, green and fresh and beautiful. She looks at it for a long time. She wants it. She wants it the way you sometimes want something for no reason you can entirely explain. Disproportionately. The want growing larger every time you try to ignore it. She tells her husband she will die if she cannot have some of that Rapunzel. She is not being melodramatic. She genuinely believes this. The craving has become physical, overwhelming, the kind that takes over rational thought entirely.
Her husband looks at his wife's face. He agrees to get her the Rapunzel. He climbs the high wall in the dark and drops into the witch's garden and pulls up a handful of the plant and brings it back. His wife makes a salad and eats it and feels better immediately. But the feeling comes back, stronger this time. She tells him she will truly die this time if she does not have more. He goes back. He drops into the garden in the dark, and the witch is standing there.
She does not shout. She does not threaten immediately. She asks him calmly, with the precision of someone who already knows exactly what they are going to do. Why he is in her garden, stealing her plans. He tells her the truth. His wife saw the Rapunzel through the window. She craved it. He was afraid for her. He had to help her. The witch looks at him for a long time. Then she makes him an offer. Take as much Rapunzel as you want, she says. Your wife can have all she needs. But in return, when your wife gives birth, you will give me the child. It will be well cared for. It will want for nothing. It will be like my own child. The man is so frightened and so desperate and so grateful to not be punished that he agrees. He agrees immediately. He goes home with armfuls of Rapunzel. His wife eats until she is satisfied. In due time she gives birth. And the witch appears at the door the same day. She takes the baby. She names her Rapunzel after the plant that brought her into this arrangement, and she disappears with her.
When Rapunzel is 12 years old, the witch locks her in a tower in the middle of a forest. The tower has no door and no stairs. It has one window at the very top. When the witch wants to come up, she stands at the base of the tower and calls out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." And Rapunzel wraps her long golden hair around the window hook and lets it fall the full height of the tower. 20 ells, the story says, which is roughly 22 meters of hair. And the witch grabs hold of it and climbs up. Rapunzel lives alone in the tower for years. She has her voice. She sings to pass the time, and her voice is extraordinary, clear and beautiful, and it carries through the forest in every direction. One day, a prince rides through the forest and hears the singing. He circles the tower looking for a door and finds none. He comes back every day for a week just to listen. One day he watches from the trees and sees the witch come and call up to the window, and sees the gold hair fall, and sees the witch climb. He waits until the witch has gone, and then he stands at the base of the tower and calls out the same words. "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." The hair falls. He climbs. Rapunzel has never seen a man before. She has never seen anyone except the witch. She is terrified at first, and then she is not. They talk. He comes back. He comes back many times. He tells her he loves her. He asks her to marry him. She has been in a tower her entire conscious life, with one visitor who controls everything about her existence. So she says yes. She says yes to the first person who has ever treated her with kindness, and the story does not judge her for this. They make a plan. He will bring silk thread on each visit, and she will weave it into a ladder, and when the ladder is long enough, she will climb down, and they will go away together. The witch does not know any of this, not until the day that Rapunzel, making conversation as the witch climbs her hair, asks without thinking, "Why are you so much heavier to pull up than the prince?" The witch arrives at the top of the tower and looks at Rapunzel's face, and in that face she reads everything, all of it. The visits, the conversations, the silk threads wound into a ladder hidden under the bed, the plan to leave.
She picks up a pair of scissors. She takes hold of Rapunzel's beautiful golden hair, and she cuts it off. In the original Grimm version, she cuts it off, and then she sends Rapunzel away into a desert wilderness, alone, without the prince, without any resources, to manage as best she can. In later editions, the Brothers Grimm added a detail that Rapunzel was already pregnant when this happened, though they removed even this in subsequent editions because it implied that the relationship in the tower had been physical rather than simply romantic, which made the publishers uncomfortable.
That evening, when the prince comes and calls up to the window, the witch lowers the cut hair. She has tied it to the window hook. He climbs. He reaches the top. He looks not at Rapunzel, but at the witch. She looks at him with those flat, calm eyes and tells him that the bird is gone from the nest and will not sing anymore, that the cat has taken her and will now scratch out his eyes as well.
He is so overwhelmed with grief and shock that he jumps or falls from the tower window. He lands in a thorn bush below. He is not killed, but the thorns put out his eyes. He stumbles away into the forest, blind.
He wanders for years, blind, alone, living on roots and berries, wandering from country to country. One day, in a desert wilderness, he hears a voice singing. He knows that voice. He has been listening for it for years without any real expectation of finding it. He walks toward the sound. Rapunzel sees him coming, ragged and blind and thin and stumbling, and she recognizes him, and she runs to him and throws her arms around him and weeps. 2 of her tears fall directly into his empty eye sockets. His sight returns, instantly, completely. He can see the desert and the sky and her face. He takes her hand, and they walk together out of the wilderness to his kingdom, where they are received with joy. They live, the story concludes, happily and contentedly for a long time. The witch is not mentioned again. She stays in her tower with the severed hair and the silk ladder under the bed and the silence where the singing used to be. The story does not follow her. It does not need to. Some endings write themselves.